Now, perhaps the ultimate technology that we could create with this idea of the ether, with my theory about the ether, is something that I call an etheric resonance implosion reactor. So this would be free energy, and it's also the secret to how ancient technology worked. So it's quite a big secret, and it's a serious technology, and it's really already proven with this other experiment that I've talked about called sonoluminescence. And sonoluminescence is very simple. If you get a container of water and you vibrate the container with sound, sonoluminescence, and you need the correct frequency that resonates with the container, then what happens is you create an implosion. Inside, the water will vibrate and you get a bubble formed in the middle, a vacuum. Then inside that bubble, if you keep vibrating, you get light. A little ball of light appears just in the vacuum. So what you're doing is condensing space with this vibration. You've created a vacuum, but that vacuum is still condensing, then you've created light from the vacuum. They call it a star in the jar. So you can look this up. It's proven. That already proves my theory of the ether. But I want to explain this in a bit more detail and try and show how this is the beginning of some very powerful technology. You see, for example, I've already said this before, but imagine you could improve this technology. So first of all, you have a sphere. It's got to be spherical, a spherical container with a very thick substance, a very strong substance, and you vibrate that. So you could have water inside, but maybe you even just have the vacuum inside, or some sort of a gas. I suspect a gas or a liquid, because that helps to increase the pressure. And then you vibrate this again with the frequency, the resonant frequency of the structure. That's important to understand. You have to create a standing wave, a three-dimensional standing wave, and that is dependent on the size of the structure, the geometry itself. So really, when you're dealing with geometry, that's mathematics. That's quite abstract. That's consciousness. That is space itself. So you're creating a resonant structure in space, and then you're resonating it, vibrating it, to create this transmission of a vibration inside it. And really, the transmission is happening in space inside it. So this movement is creating a pulsation in gravity. You could also think of it like that. The container is moving in and out, creating a pulsation, a pressure wave going into the middle. And if you get the balance of this wave just right, it will all focus to the middle, it will implode, and the pressure will build up into a point. But only when you get this geometry just right and the frequency just right. And if you could do this with more power, what would happen is, first of all, you would get a vacuum, a bubble of space. But that space is still compacting. So inside that bubble now, the next thing we would get is etheric energy. We would get thicker space. Space is condensing. So we have pure space, and then we have thicker space, which I'm calling etheric energy. So inside the bubble of the vacuum, you will now have a bubble of etheric energy. Inside the bubble of etheric energy keeps condensing. Inside that, it goes to the next level, which is light. Now we see light. That's the sonoluminescence. But if we could keep increasing the power, the focus, then inside the light, inside the bubble of light, we would get a bubble of heat. Hot light. Hot light is thicker light than bright light. More condensed, thicker light. So inside the bubble of bright light, you would have a bubble of hot light. Now heat would start coming out. But if you keep on going, inside the bubble of hot light, you would have a bubble of plasma. You'd be creating what is called a plasmoid, a bubble of plasma, condensing inwards. And if you could keep that going, inside the plasma, you might create little bubbles, an atom. You would actually start to create matter. You would create a primordial plasma out of the vacuum. Now, once you've got to that level, you've got heat and light coming out. That is energy. You've created a reactor. But it's a reactor because what is happening? You see, you're condensing space, but it reacts. So first of all, you're condensing the vacuum, and that forms an etheric bubble. Once you start creating etheric energy, thicker space, now it bounces back. You've created a point, and you've imploded a point, so you've collapsed space into a point, but now space bounces back. Etheric energy will explode from a point. So etheric energy is just coming out of it continuously. So before you would see light, this resonant chamber, it would have a sound, and inside there would be a bubble of a vacuum, and inside the vacuum, etheric energy would be bursting out, exploding. That is already an etheric reactor, generating etheric energy from a vibrating sphere, but a resonant, imploding, vibrating sphere. Now, if we take that further, now it goes compacts into light. Light now explodes, it reacts. You're compacting space until it creates light, but light now is the same as space, it expands, it explodes out, and light will just come out. If the container was transparent, the light would shine out. We'd see it shining like a star. A star is a resonant structure vibrating and imploding to a point, and light is bursting out. But it's coming through the structure. We see it. Now, if we could create this chamber, this sphere, with a metallic shiny surface on the inside, now when the light explodes, it would hit the surface in the sphere and bounce back to the middle. So the light would explode, but it bounces back all the way exactly to the middle again. We implode the light back in on itself. Now we increase the power to another level. Light is exploding, but light is going back in again, imploding further. Now we would have heat. Heat would build up. And heat would build up, and it would just vaporize the water. Now we'd have a gas. But actually everything would get hotter. The whole thing would heat up. So you would need a heat-proof structure. It would need to be cooled on the outside so that it contains the heat on the inside. Now we've got a reactor generating heat and light. But if we could compact further, we would have a plasma. So now the next level of compaction is a plasma. But interestingly, a plasma does not explode so much. A plasma is contracting space. It's going towards atoms. Once you've got an atom, that is fixed in space. It doesn't explode. So a plasma is imploding space, but the reaction is heat and light coming off the plasma. Plasma is electricity, but electricity captured in a bubble, in a ball. So it cannot release. It's charge building up. We have compacted space. Space is discharge, but we're compacting discharge until it reacts and creates charge. That charge is a plasma, but the plasma now is also exploding into heat and light. Now the energy comes off it. And if we could feed back the energy back in to create the vibration, now we have a self-sustaining generator. An etheric resonance implosion reactor. But this is the same as ancient technology. The sarcophagus in the pyramids is a resonant chamber, resonant structure. And if you lie in it and you chant, the right note, the structure will resonate. And if you get the right frequency, it creates a standing wave, and that wave implodes inwards to create etheric energy. So you would have an etheric energy reactor. Space would implode, but etheric energy would burst out. And if you lie in the sarcophagus and chant, you would have an etheric implosion reactor. An etheric resonance implosion reactor. But it's only on the etheric level. That's good for us. That would heal us. See, what is the body? The body is itself a resonant chamber. And all this ancient technology, the temples, the pyramids, the churches, all of these were resonant chambers. If you chant inside them, they create a powerful resonance, an implosion of etheric energy, and that bursts out. That's what they are. They are etheric resonance implosion reactors. That's what the temples are. The cathedrals, the pyramids, all of this. The sarcophagus. It's all the same thing. But now imagine something else. You see, once you realize technology requires this geometry, a resonant chamber, that could be very complex. And you can have many layers to this resonant chamber. See, for example, what I'm talking about is vibrating with sound. Imagine you could have a chamber that doesn't vibrate with sound, but is activated by light. So light hits this structure, and light goes into the structure and creates a vibration. See, essentially, that's what solar panels are. Light goes in and is converted to electricity. Essentially, light is condensed by the atoms, is creating a movement in the atoms that creates a charge potential. So if you had a structure like that, solar panelled structure, light hits it, it vibrates. That vibration then implodes inwards to create this same sonoluminescence effect. So you take this more delicate vibration on the outside, and through layers you could amplify it. So you could have a solar panel on the outside going into a vibrating sphere on the inside through layers of conversion of energy. And on the inside then, you have this fusion reactor on the very middle. It all builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up. Compacting towards the middle. Different layers of spheres, creating different vibrations going in towards the middle, imploding together. That's the secret. It requires now complex mathematics, detailed analysis of different substances to create this technology. But imagine now you could have another technology even more delicate. So it's not light that activates it, it's not sound that activates it, it's etheric energy that activates it. Like this crystal. See, I could touch this crystal, and with my mind I push etheric energy into it. Etheric energy is still space, consciousness, but more condensed. So I can do that myself, condense into etheric energy and push etheric energy into this. So now the etheric energy will vibrate in the structure, implode inwards. It would start this resonance going on. Now I'd need a particular type of technology, but imagine we could build such a thing. Again, crystal is very good for vibrating anything. It would take etheric energy. So you could have a crystal sphere. Inside the crystal sphere, you could have solar panels. Inside that, you could have a moving, vibrating sphere. So all you have to do is touch the crystal sphere. That vibrates etheric energy. It only needs etheric energy to activate it. But at the right resonant frequency, it then triggers light in the solar panel sphere. Then light goes into movement, sound, because light triggers the movement of this vibrating sphere. That goes into water, goes into pressure, goes all the way in to the fusion reactor, to the implosion reactor. And again, that's what this ancient technology was. Even the sarcophagus. You lie in the sarcophagus, you don't have to chant, you just meditate. If you have a powerful consciousness, you meditate, you build up etheric energy. That etheric energy goes into the sarcophagus and vibrates it. Because the sarcophagus was also crystal. It's granite. Crystals in there. Crystals will vibrate with etheric energy as well as light, as electricity. Crystal vibrates with all of this. So etheric energy goes in, vibrates. that implodes back in again. Implodes back in. So you've now got an etheric resonant implosion reactor, but just activated by the mind. You just meditate in there. And it feedbacks, increases. Same in a cathedral, a church, a temple. You just meditate. Use your mind to build power, and the power will resonate with the structure and implode back in to a point. Now imagine this. And again, you see the body is this. The body is different layers of resonance. So many different layers. But we have a very delicate layer. Imagine this. Not even etheric energy, just thought energy. Thought energy is pure spirit. Thought energy will resonate with geometry. Pure geometry. So I visualize something. It creates a resonance in thought energy. But that resonance, just right, it starts to resonate with etheric energy and etheric structure. So we have a thought structure resonating with an etheric structure, resonating with a physical structure. And all those resonance implode inwards to a point. That's what we are, a soul and a body together. Now imagine this. Imagine you had pure consciousness. See, that's pure consciousness, a bubble. A bubble is itself a resonant chamber, a cymatic, but it's just a bubble in space. There's no technology, but a very powerful bubble of space, a spirit. And that is vibrating. That vibrates and creates pressure inwards. Inwards it creates pressure into etheric energy. So inside this bubble of very powerful spiritual energy, we have a very condensed bubble of etheric energy. It's building up etheric energy, a bubble of it. But even more powerful, imagine this spirit could be so powerful, it vibrates and condenses in, and inside this bubble of etheric energy, we have a bubble of light appear. Bright light. Now what we have is a ball of light. These are the psychic orbs. We used to see these balls of light for all history. In the forest they were called will-o'-the-wisp. Little balls of light floating around. Crop circles, you see these balls of light. UFOs, balls of light, we see them. Orbs. That could well just be a bubble of consciousness, very powerful, condensing into etheric energy, condensing into light. But also it might relax. Light would dissipate back to etheric energy, it disappears. But then it condenses again into light, then it relaxes again back to etheric energy. So now this ball of light goes on and off. You see them flashing sometimes. Flashing little balls of light. Etheric energy expanding and then contracting into light energy, but directly controlled by a bubble of consciousness. It's a conscious being, but not in a body, and quite a powerful conscious being, because it's able to vibrate and condense all the way down to light. But it still can't do much, because it does not have a body. You see, we have a body which is far more complex, that allows us to interact with the world. A consciousness bubble of light can't do much, it just floats around, and it can move energy. It can change energy to a degree, but it can't build something, for example. It might create a crop circle. That's just gently moving energy of a living thing, a plant. It can create these movements of energy, electromagnetic effects it can have. But it cannot build anything, cannot talk. So this body is a more elaborate technology, and it's quite detailed. You see, this body is activated by thought, by spirit. Spirit just vibrates the body, but the body's vibrating, and that goes inwards to vibrate other technologies that amplify it. Until we're vibrating sound, we're vibrating light inside the body. Now we've got electricity, now we've got power in the body, we've got heat in the body, hot light is in the body. Layers of condensation of the ether happening through layers of technology. But that technology is resonant structure. Resonant structures imploding inwards. And we can use that technology, this same principle, for external technology. See, the body is internal technology. These balls of light, floating spirits, these are internal technology. They come directly from spirit. Then we have external technology, which we need a body. The body must build external technology, but we can build external technology again on all these different levels. I can have an alien craft, an alien spaceship, an alien drone, but I can control it with etheric energy, with thought energy. I focus my thought into it, that vibrates it, and off it goes. Remember, it's a condensation of energy, but I need to be a powerful spirit to do that. A powerful soul must push energy in. You see, it's a resonant chamber, but I have to vibrate it. I have to push energy into it. So I'm pushing thought energy in. I'm pushing etheric energy in, just with my mind. Boom! I focus it in. That builds up pressure, starts to vibrate it on an etheric level. But there are layers of technology that amplify that energy, that vibration, and take it to a denser, denser, denser level, compact it inwards until we get light, we get physical energy. So quite literally, I could have a crystal like this, it's dark, I touch it, I focus my mind, and boom, it lights up. If I had the right technology, and if I had a powerful enough consciousness that I could actually push some etheric energy into it. If you can't push etheric energy, it won't work. I have to force it in, increase the pressure, I have to vibrate it. And the technology is resonant, it implodes inwards. Please do leave me any questions or comments, and do check out the description of this video, because I talk about my new book. It's called Pure Fluid, Aether and the Shamanic Universe, Book 1. So do please check that out. Thank you so much for your time listening to me, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.